Daughter abandoned me for her rich stepdad when she was 12, asking me to give up my parental rights. Now she's 22, broke, and wants me back after her mom died and stepdad kicked her out. My ex-wife, Caroline, then 41, and I, then 45, separated 12 years ago. She found solace in a rich man's arms. Caroline was a stay-at-home mom, never interested in working or earning money, preferring to care for our home and daughter after she was born. Although my finances were tight, I never forced her to work, working 2 jobs to provide a decent meal on the table. However, my earnings couldn't cover the luxurious lifestyle she desired. I won't delve into my relationship with Caroline. This post is about Sarah. Details about my ex-wife can be covered in another post. When Sarah was 10, Caroline confessed to having an affair with a wealthy man. She moved out that day, and we filed for divorce. We became co-parents, and since I had 2 jobs and she had none, we agreed I would have Sarah on weekends. I shared a good bond with Sarah, and we managed some great adventure trips together. Though the divorce hurt, spending time with her made me feel better. As time went on, I noticed Sarah stalling our meetings. Every Friday, I looked forward to her emails detailing our weekend plans. Gradually, they changed to, "Sorry, I can't make it this weekend. We are going skiing with my stepdad." Initially, I let it slide, thinking he was trying to keep Sarah happy, but eventually, I realized she didn't want to meet me. Our weekly meetings became twice a month, then monthly, and eventually, just one day on a weekend. She wasn't enjoying our time together like before. When it became evident she was intentionally avoiding me, I confronted her. I tried to make her understand I was doing my best to keep her happy. Even after that, she continued to skip our weekends, now lying about schoolwork and projects. It sounded genuine sometimes, but mostly it was made up. During the little time we spent together, she would always rant about how going out with her stepdad was better because he didn't look at the price before ordering. Even on trips, she compared everything to her stepdad. She whined about minor inconveniences but never stopped bragging about the new PlayStation or bike her mom or stepdad bought her. I thought she was too young to understand that showering her with materialistic things wasn't love. The situation worsened when she ghosted me for over 3 months. After multiple calls and texts, I contacted my lawyer. He advised me I could file against Caroline for alienating Sarah, but she might confess in court that she didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He said it could worsen, and Sarah might demand more money to match her lifestyle, increasing child support. Despite her rich stepdad, I was still paying child support. I backed off from the idea of suing for custody, as there was no point. My lawyer suggested a formal out-of-court conversation for clarity. To my surprise, Caroline agreed. In that meeting, Caroline's husband and Sarah were present. Caroline and her husband said they had no role in Sarah ghosting me and let Sarah speak for herself. Sarah dropped a bombshell. She wanted me to give up my parental rights. That was 10 years ago, but the memory is crystal clear. I was silent for a long time. My lawyer nudged me, and I looked at everyone, speechless. Caroline smirked, knowing what was coming. I held Sarah's hand and asked if she knew what she was saying, explaining that giving up my parental rights meant she couldn't call me dad anymore. She shrugged off my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Yeah, that's what I want." I was flabbergasted. I couldn't make her understand the implications. My lawyer tried to explain what would happen if I disowned her, but she didn't change her mind. She turned to her stepdad and asked, "Once he disowns me, you'll be able to adopt me as your daughter, right?" He nodded enthusiastically. Words cannot describe the bitterness I felt. My world shattered. After being cheated on by my wife of 15 years, Sarah was the only light in my life. I didn't date anyone after the divorce, focusing all my love and attention on Sarah. This was my reward. She wanted to get rid of me. I was so devastated I couldn't think straight. My lawyer borrowed some time, and my ex and her husband likely slept well, seeing me so vulnerable. My lawyer drove me home, and after he left, I cried for hours. I called my parents, who rushed to console me. My mom, particularly close to Sarah, tried to reason with her, but Sarah was adamant. Her stepdad couldn't adopt her until I gave up my parental rights. My lawyer said we could sue them for manipulating Sarah, but it would be hard to prove since she was 12. Plus, they had the money for a long court case. It was a lost battle. I had no choice but to swallow the bitter pill and give up my parental rights. For the next week, I stayed in bed. I left my second job, lost all purpose, and eventually got fired from my full-time job. I moved to a different town, slept at a subway station, and wandered like a maniac. Gradually, I found a new job, hit the gym, and enrolled in therapy. It took 2 years to recover. During one of my solo trekking trips, I met my current wife, Emily. She had a daughter, Emma, who was 5 then. After dating for a while, we moved in together. Meeting Emma reminded me of Sarah, but I maintained a healthy yet distant relationship with her. On her 12th birthday, Emma asked me to adopt her. I was overwhelmed. Now, I have 2 daughters, Emma and a 3-year-old toddler, Amy, with Emily. Now, fast forward to a week ago, returning from work, I saw a familiar face. She ran towards me and hugged me, saying, "Dad, I'm your daughter, Sarah. Finally, I found you." I looked at her with dead eyes and said, "I have 2 daughters, but it's not you." Before she could respond, I walked away. She followed me, but I told her to stop, or I would report her. The next day, she showed up at my house, apologizing, saying her mom died and her stepdad brought his mistress home. He cut her off financially and told her to earn her own money. I listened and then replied, "So what?" She started pleading for another chance. I screamed at her to get out and slammed the door. She went to my mom and manipulated her with tears. Now, Mom wants me to reconcile with Sarah for the family's sake. The pain she inflicted on me prevents me from reconciling. Am I in a hole? Update 1. Some of you asked about Caroline, whether she was a gold digger or if it was my fault. Here's some context. We dated for 2 years before marrying. She was a waitress, living with a coworker. I had a full-time job and lived in a studio apartment. After getting another job, I saved up, bought a house, and we got married. For the first 6 to 7 years, she was content with my earnings but later started complaining about how her friends had better earning husbands. She even said she should have waited for a richer husband. We fought often. One day, she revealed her affair and moved out. I didn't beg her to stay but warned her that rich men often see women as toys. She claimed she had been seeing him for 2 years and trusted him. Some said Sarah was a minor when she asked me to disown her, and I shouldn't be harsh on her now. They suggested I accept her. While she was manipulated, she could have contacted me when she turned 18 but didn't. She reached out now because her stepdad cut her off financially. When I visited Mom, I found out Sarah had been living with a friend, now homeless, selling her belongings for food. Mom suggested a cleaner job at her friend's bakery, but Sarah remained silent. Mom gave her some money and food, but Sarah didn't bring the document to overturn the disownment. She visited again, asking for more money, but Mom refused. Sarah insulted my stepdaughters, and Mom chased her out, calling me immediately. We'll get a restraining order if she returns. Update 2. 2 weeks ago, Sarah visited Mom again, looking miserable. She asked for money, saying she was homeless. Mom suggested a job, but Sarah remained silent. Mom gave her some food and money, but Sarah didn't bring the document. 3 days ago, she showed up again, and Mom asked about the money and job. Sarah had no answers. Mom gave her a loaf of bread and asked about being my daughter. Sarah replied, "What's the point if he won't give me money? He's given everything to his stepchildren." Mom was astonished and chased her out. She called me immediately. "I'm staying with Mom for a week. I feel sad for Sarah. If Caroline manipulated her to humiliate me, she ruined her own daughter's life. If Sarah is lying, she's paying the price." Someone commented that Sarah made a choice 10 years ago and now must live with it. I agree. She chose her stepdad over me and now faces the consequences. Thank you very much for listening to the story so far. I suggest you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss tomorrow's stories.